Society says height shouldn't matter, yet human behavior revolves around it. The moment you walk into a room, a number follows you. You are forced to defend your body from the meanings and assumptions other people attach to it. Those social and masculine judgments often arrive long before you've said a word. This usually starts with the casual cruelty we reserve for things people can't change. Napoleon, fun-sized, short king. We are told to relax, that it's harmless banter, that a lifetime of these socially acceptable microaggressions eventually stops feeling like a joke and starts feeling like weather. When you push back, the trap snaps shut. Your frustration is instantly categorized as evidence of your own insecurity. So you smile, you deflect, and you wear humor as heavy armor. If you look at modern dating, the abstraction becomes a literal filter. 6 feet acts as a stripped building code for romance, where a physical trait you cannot alter cuts off the conversation before your values, your humor, or your character are even evaluated. The weight of that bias follows you into the rest of your life, creating an exhausting double bind. When a tall man speaks up, he is assertive. When you do it, you are compensating. Lift weights? Compensating. Dress well? Trying too hard. You end up trapped in a cycle of constant self-monitoring. You find yourself calibrating how loud you speak, how you hold your shoulders, and how much space you take up, terrified of fitting into someone else's lazy mental stereotype. Social interaction for many is about authentic expression. For you, it becomes a performance where you manage an unearned handicap assigned to your body without your permission. The physical environment enforces this penalty, starting right in your closet. Standard men's fashion isn't drafted for shorter proportions. Sleeves drape, jackets swallow your shoulders, and off-the-rack clothing visually consumes you. Step outside, and the loss of vertical space becomes a literal barrier. In a crowded room, at a bar, or on a busy sidewalk, shorter men are visually registered later. People talk over you or miss you entirely, translating physical obstruction into social invisibility. Style becomes a form of engineering, mandatory damage control to maintain the visibility others get for free. You must nail the hem breaks, jacket lengths, and proportions to avoid being visually consumed by your own outfit. The designed world passively reinforces your erasure. Shorter men are forced to spend time, money, and mental energy to manually manufacture the baseline visual presence that taller men inherit for free. The professional world loves to claim it only values competence, but humans bring their biases into the office. We subconsciously associate height with senior leadership and inherent authority. Taller men look executive just by sitting at the table. To punch through that baseline assumption of lower capability, you have to over-prepare. You need sharper communication, a more rigid posture, and a cleaner presence just to be heard at the same volume. Many short men take this battle to the gym, using physical fitness to offset that social and professional invisibility. Building a stronger, more solid physique is a direct way to demand the room's attention. But this triggers another trap. If you stay small, you risk being read as boyish and easily dismissed. If you pack on muscle, people immediately accuse you of overcompensating. The gym becomes a courtroom where every pound you lift is cross-examined. Active self-improvement is weaponized against you, treated as proof of the very insecurity society expects you to have. Even the modern language of tolerance comes with a catch. Terms like short king sound supportive, but they're compliments with a knife attached. They say, "You're impressive despite the thing we all noticed," keeping the perceived deficit front and center. The culture relentlessly insists that height matters, through dating apps, media archetypes, and everyday jokes. Then, when that pressure inevitably creates insecurity, the same culture turns around and tells you to just get over it, blaming you for noticing the message they sent. This leads to the most dangerous restriction of all. If a tall man gets angry, he is passionate and commanding. If a short man gets angry, he is pathologized. He has little man syndrome. You can spend years manually building your emotional maturity, career, and confidence, only to watch a taller peer seamlessly receive automatic respect based on an unearned physical advantage. That is the deepest penalty. It is not the initial insult of the bias. It is the systematic muzzle placed on you, restricting your right to legitimately and openly react to the disrespect without proving their stereotype. True acceptance avoids toxic positivity. It acknowledges your body won't change and lets you stop begging reality for different bones. Instead, you deliberately build a blueprint for presence. You master vocal tone, steady eye contact, undeniable competence, and sharp style. You learn to command a room manually through sheer substance. You learn not to rely on size. And here is the advantage. A presence you architect yourself is vastly more resilient than a presence you merely inherited through genetics. A tall man can be tall and still empty. It is entirely unfair that insecurity and bias forced this manual growth, but the resulting character architecture it produces is heavy, grounded, and nearly unbreakable. We live in a culture that turns an unchosen physical trait into a symbol of weakness, while simultaneously preaching that only internal character matters. The ultimate path forward requires disconnecting your personal value from their external measurement. It means anchoring a life so deeply into the ground that it can no longer be ruled by inches. You may never be physically tall, but tall is not the same as large. A personality can be large. Your boundaries, your reputation, and your impact can be massive. True authority arrives only when you permanently refuse to let that tape measure serve as your final verdict.